Um, Thank you everybody so much for joining. If you're from the DC area, we've probably already met, but if not, my name is David Hahn, class of 2019, and I'm the president of the Alumni Association here in the National Capital Region. We're here today because change is afoot, and a lot of EVEs have been impacted by the cuts across government and various industries all over. I hosted a not so happy hour a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of youths were telling me just a general sense of anxiety, frustration, even anger about just cuts that have been happening and ongoing. And let's be honest, career transitions are never easy, and especially more difficult when it's unplanned and not really what you were hoping for. That said, I do believe that if we come together as a community, things can be easier if we support each other, if we're there for each other, um, which is why we're doing this. This is a series of webinars, two in fact, where expert career coaches are going to speak to you about their experience and share their wisdom about what they know and what they've learned, in order to make this transition easier for you. So today we have Dr. Lee Koles, class 93. We're so lucky and privileged to have you here, Lee. I won't read your full bio. You see that in the invite. But I'll just say that Lee is no stranger to DC. She completed her PhD at George Mason and spent several years working in various parts of the Department of Defense. So she understands how DC works. She understands how civil service works. She understands, I'm sure, the commuting and the traffic and the joys of driving on the Beltway. And I'm sure she can talk about all of that. And, of course, the topic of the discussion today. So with that, I'll pass to you, Lee, and ask you to kick off with what your favorite class was at Williams, and we'll dive right in.
Hey, David. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about DC traffic because, oh my gosh, I spend way too much time thinking about that. But my favorite class at Williams was Psychology and the Law with Dr. Saul Kassan, who he's the reason I became a psychologist. So that was my favorite class. But it's so great to see everybody here. And I know that this is Zoom, but I just want to pretend that we're here hanging out at your favorite spot at Williams. Okay, so just think about like where that was, where you were able to hang out with your friends. In my era, it was fun to hang out at the pub, but for you, it might be the Log or the Barn or Pereski or Baxter. But this is just a time right now for us EVEs to connect, okay? Plus, I love a lively chat. So I want you to warm up to the chat. Put your favorite emoji in the chat, just the one that you just find yourself using all the time. Go for it. Do not be shy. Okay. Oh, I see a little celebration. Fire. Yes, Crystal. I love it. I love it. I want this webinar to be as interactive as possible. So I welcome you to share your voice through the chat. And also just make sure that you have a pen and a paper, just something to write with and write on, because you're going to need that during our time together. Okay. So I'm honored to be here with all of you. For those of you who have never met me before, I'm Lee Koles, and some of you may know me from my talks at Dwelling with a Gallant or the Women at Williams conference. Maybe you've listened to my podcast, Career Sequel, which is soon to be transitioning to the Potentialist podcast. And I know there are several people in this webinar audience who know me as this. Okay, that's me. This is my photo from the freshman Facebook, fall of '89. And the first year Facebook was a literal book then. So as you can see, my hair is huge. It can barely fit in the frame. And that took a lot of gel and curling iron work and hairspray to accomplish. So I want you to just think of me as this fellow EVE, okay? Make yourself at home here. I'm really excited for our discussion. And just know we've all shared a bond, in that we've tread along the same paths, we've communed in the same buildings, we grew up in the same dorms. We have a shared collective experience that's truly unique. So tonight is all about coming together in support of each other. and our dreams. And we're going to talk about career transitions, and we're going to get real. Okay. Now, this is a place where we can share our concerns and our hopes and our resources. And my goal is for you to come away from this feeling inspired, but also having some practical science-based tools and strategies to get you where you want to go. So in the next hour, by the end of this hour, I want you to feel like you have a support system. Okay, so we're going to get active in this chat. At Williams, we cheered each other on. Tell me in the chat, did you do a sport or do music, or were you in an a cappella group? I want you to put that in the chat. We're getting to know each other. We supported each other when we were at Williams. We poured into the auditoriums at concerts, and we cheered for each other at sporting events. I see Rebecca track and crew, David track, Lee rugby, yes, J.A. Megan squash, Max cycling, Jen museum associate, the outing club. I love it. So we were all there supporting each other at Williams. We were there supporting each other when we were pulling all-nighters to turn in those term papers. And you know, some colleges are known for their competitive atmosphere. Williams is different. Okay, we're known for our camaraderie and for our support for each other. And the best part of this is that it doesn't disappear when we graduate. There's nothing more fun than running into another EVE in the wild or at work. We're strong because of this, and we're special because of the way we champion each other. Okay, can I get a go EVEs in the chat? Let's hear it. Let's bring it in the chat. Let's get psyched, get into this. Go EVEs. Yes, go EVEs. Yes. Okay, we're all here because of different reasons. So some of you have been planning out your transition for some time. Some of you are just exploring your next step. Some of you got an email from Elon Musk. Okay, but career transitions by choice or by circumstance, they can bring forth a whole array of emotions. You may be feeling excited, energized, uncertain, stuck, anxious, maybe all of the above. What I want you to know is this, okay, you're not alone. I mean, look at all of us here. And I'm also going to tell you right now that this webinar is not about resumes or cover letters, though I can point you in the direction of resources for those things. We're going to go deeper than that to things that you didn't even realize should be on your list. What we're going to talk about today is going to be foundational for your transitioning into a career with clarity and intention and strategy. So it's about keeping our eyes on the prize. And that is a future that aligns with who you are and what you truly want. Okay, we're going to look at your career transition through 3 lenses, what I call the inside, the upside, and the outside. So here's a sneak peek. Okay, first, the inside. Okay, we're going to be talking about something that I'm sure was not on your radar for today, which is the neuroscience of career change. What is happening in your brain to make you feel those emotions that you're feeling right now? And how can you rewire your brain to get yourself through a career transition? Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the upside. That's your talents, your natural strengths, and how to identify them and use them as a compass to make your next move. And then the outside. Career transitions don't happen in a vacuum. Success comes from connecting with the right people and the right opportunities. So we're going to talk about how to build a strong support system, how to tap into the hidden job market and network in a way that actually feels good. Okay, can I hear anything in the chat? How are you feeling about this? Thumbs up in the chat? All right. Thanks, Andrew. Love the neuroscience angle. Okay. Sounds wonderful. Thanks, Andre. All right, everybody. I have a multiple choice question to kick us off. All right. What best describes how you're feeling about your career right now? Okay. Is it A? And I want you to just put the letter in the chat. Okay. A, worried, I don't know what the future brings. B, angry, I hate being in this situation. C, stuck, I'm not sure what to do next. B, excited, moving on to something new is just what I need. Or E, ready, bring on the next chapter. All right. I see a mix of so many different things. I see worried. I see lots of stuck. I see some D and E too, excited and ready. So, and I can tell you that I've felt each of those feelings because a career trajectory, it's supposed to be a smooth rising slope, right? Okay. I don't even know why we think that. Why is there even that narrative out there? When I asked Canva to come up with an image for career, this is what it gave me. Just look at how smooth and beautiful this is. You can just keep achieving accolade after accolade until you get your trophy. Is this what tell me in the chat, is this what your career feels like right now? Your journey? It's not at all what mine looks like. Okay. My own career has gone through many transitions since I graduated from Williams during a recession. And I tried to draw a little portrait of my career to share with you, but it was way too complicated. And it just wound up, I decided, I just drew this. Okay. But it's just scribbles. There are twists and turns, backtracking, there's stops, there's flatlining. I did give it an upward trajectory because I'm an optimistic person. But my career has seen recessions, change of industry, some cool things like getting a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. That was on an upward slope. But then it's also saw a decade-long career break and then re-entering the workplace, starting my own business as a career strategist, speaker, and coach. And then you see there's this dip at the end. And that was 2 years ago when life got in the way. My dad was dying of Alzheimer's and cancer. And I started taking trips back home to Nebraska to be with him, to help my mom. And I had to take my foot off my career accelerator. And I decided I was just going to do client work. I didn't have the bandwidth to go on LinkedIn anymore, which was my best friend. I love LinkedIn. And after 72 episodes, I stopped recording my Career Sequel podcast. And dad died a little over a year ago. And I'm just picking myself up and brushing myself off. So you're catching me on just an upswing. I'm getting back on LinkedIn. And literally the reason I'm here with you today is because it was like the day I decided to take a peek on LinkedIn again, I saw David's post about asking for a career, are there any career coaches out there? And I was like, okay, Lee, time to get back up on the horse. And my podcast is going to be returning soon, but with a different name. It's right now, it's Career Sequel. It's going to look like this. I'm giving you the sneak peek. And so I'm excited to come back. And I've gone through all those emotions, but I don't regret the decisions I made or the breaks I took. And I just want to give a little hats off to my dad, Fred Keishel, Williams College, class of 1964. This is him, his senior year in his rugby uniform, Purple Mountains in the background. And all of our career trajectories are going to look scribbly based on what comes up for us in this life. And we're going to have all sorts of emotions about that. And so my first ask is for you to just drop the judgment that you have about the feelings that are coming up for you. Okay? Did you know that we were actually built to feel this way during a career transition? Which brings me to the inside. What is happening in your brain that's making you feel this way? I want you to think about the earliest version of humans, okay? You may be envisioning a burly, stooped over caveman wielding a spear, but scientists now say that we evolved more as prey than as hunters. So it was really more like this, okay? Our primary objective was to stay safe from predators. And thank goodness for the incredible human brain. Our brain is a beautiful, complex machine designed with one major purpose. Okay, put it in the chat, Eves. What do you guess is the one major purpose, the biggest purpose of our brain? Anyone? Yeah, Elise, survival, survive. Yes, Casey, survival. Yes, to keep us alive. Okay, stay alive. Yes, Kristen. Its job is to just alert us of life-threatening danger. So it was designed with all of these bells and whistles that go off when it senses traps or dangers, anything that opens us up to vulnerability and threatens our survival. Okay, so let's take a peek inside. This is an EEF brain, as you can tell by its purple and goldness. And it all begins with the amygdala, the danger detector, okay? The amygdala is the lookout tower, hence the lookout tower on this brain, serving everything around us for signs of threat. It takes into consideration our environment and all the people in it, and it assesses how people look and act and what they say and anything that threatens our stability. So I want you to share in the chat. If your amygdala could talk, what warnings is it giving you about your career? Tell me in the chat. Okay, it might say something like, warning, warning, the job market's changing. What are you going to do? Danger, yes, Max, yes, you have to change. What else? Yes, I get it with AI, Lee. Yes. Uh-huh. You're not prepared. I know you'll never get hired. Yes. Okay. Exactly. Too specialized, no safety net. Exactly. If your amygdala notices anything that's off, it alerts the hypothalamus and that preps our body for flight or flight. So those stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol get released. So that's why your heart speeds up, your blood pressure increases. You become hyper aware of all that is around you. Megan, don't worry if it's okay. All right. Now, our brain does its job so well that it also makes predictions of possible future dangers based on our past. The hippocampus remembers everything. Okay, there is an elephant on top of this hippocampus because it's signifying the fact that an elephant never forgets. That's not supposed to be a hippo for hippocampus. That's an elephant that never forgets. The hippocampus remembers everything, especially the bad stuff that you'd rather forget. And it keeps track of all your memories and it puts the new situation into context. So it reminds you of all the potential dangers and all the things that went wrong in the past. Hang on one second. Let me talk to my dog. Ruby, can you go lay down? Go lay down. Go on. Okay, she's been talking. She's impassioned about the hippocampus as well. So the hippocampus might say, remember when you got interviewed for that job but you didn't get it? Or remember that negative feedback that you got that one time? Or remember when you failed? So what experience does your hippocampus want you to remember? You should put that in the chat. What experience is taught, what memory do you have that your hippocampus keeps reminding you of as you're going through this career transition? Yes, how hard it was to get started in your current career. Yep, working yourself and yes, toxic and unsafe work environments, right? Now, our brain is wired to crave stability. So stability equals safety. It sees change as dangerous. So even if you want to make a change, this is why even if you hate your job, it is still so hard to leave. And why even when you need a change, you might feel paralyzed. So that's our prefrontal cortex doing its job. It's like this part right here. So just when you think you're going to move forward, it slams on the brakes. It does not like stepping into the unknown. That is a threat. So your prefrontal cortex is what says, wait, stop, don't do it. Hey, it's too hard. You're too old. You're too young. you're overqualified, you're not qualified enough, you don't have the experience, you're not good enough. Those are the words of the prefrontal cortex. So share with me in the chat, what message is your prefrontal cortex sending you to keep you from taking action? Anybody in the chat? Is your prefrontal cortex talking to you, or are you able to, yeah, not experienced, not qualified, there no job, right? That's right. Yes, learning AI, I get it. Yes. So as you can see, career transitions, they activate some of the most powerful parts of our brain, specifically those tied to fear and motivation and decision making. So if you're beating yourself up because you feel stuck, even when you know what you need to do, please stop. Okay, you're not ineffective, you're not lazy. You just have a highly functioning human brain that's trying to protect you. Now, back in the cave, many things like animals, weather, illness, many things were a threat to our existence. And we survived because of our ability to communicate, to work together, to form strong social bonds, and to pass down knowledge from one generation to the next. And it was vital to be accepted by others because being thrown out of our tribe meant certain death. So our minds evolved to fear being judged or doing the wrong thing. So when your resume goes unnoticed, or you're ghosted by employers, or you don't make it to the next round of the interview, or you're laid off, or you're fired, your brain panics. Get this. Studies using fMRI brain scans show that social rejection, it activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Look at that. So social pain shows up in the same way as physical pain. Is this a surprise to you in the chat? It shows up as physical pain. There's no wonder you feel awful. Those unhelpful thoughts, those negative emotions, that pounding in your head, they're all justified. It's legitimate pain. Our brains are hardwired that way. So now we no longer live in a world where social acceptance means life or death. Losing a social bond may be painful, but it no longer means that we have to fend for ourselves in the wild. But unfortunately, our brain hasn't gotten the message that is 2025. And we're navigating today's world with a mind that's still programmed with this primitive fear. It's going to be okay, though, because of something called neuroplasticity. That's your brain's ability to adapt and change. You can rewire your brain to work with you, not against you during your career transition. And I'm going to share some steps to calm your brain's fear response. Okay. So step one is thank your brain. Hey, yes, I know this sounds dumb, but stay with me. I want you to take a pause and thank your brain for all the work it has been doing. Acknowledge it and thank it. And when you do that, it turns off the alarms and it silences the bells and whistles and it lowers the red flags. Like, you acknowledge that the message has been received. Okay, go ahead and thank your brain in the chat. Tell your brain how thankful you are for all the work it has been doing for you in the chat. Go for it. Go for it, chat. Thank you. Say thank you to your brain in the chat. Yes, thanks, brain. Yes, wouldn't be here without you. So true. Thanks for stressing me out. LOL. Yes, it's true. It's just trying to help. Okay. Step two is name the negative emotion you're feeling. And I want you to name it out loud. Okay. One of the fastest ways to regain control when you're feeling overwhelmed is to name that emotion out loud. Research out of UCLA found that when people labeled what they were feeling, for example, when they said, I feel anxious or I feel uncertain, the amygdala's activity decreased and people are able to regain cognitive control. It's like telling your brain, I see you, I know you're stressed, but I've got this. So try it right now in the chat. I want you to name one emotion that your career transition has brought up for you, and one that you've been trying to suppress or ignore. I want you just to acknowledge it. And see what you've done. So type out the word, and I want you to say the word out loud. Okay. It's okay. You guys are all on mute, right? But just say it. Say it out loud. Say it as loudly as you want, because that plays into what's called the production effect. The more stimulation that the senses receive, the greater the impression it makes on the mind. So your brain is going to better encode and hold on to things that are said aloud than just thought silently. So naming your emotion aloud and acknowledging your emotions, it's going to calm the amygdala. It's going to dull your fear response, give you a little more mental clarity. Okay. So next time you feel stuck or overwhelmed, just don't ignore it or push it down or tell yourself, I'm fine. Hey, do you guys know what fine stands for? Feelings inside, not expressed. All right. I want you to pause and name that emotion. And that simple habit can help you think more clearly and help you make better decisions. Step 3 is externalize your thoughts. One of the biggest struggles in a career transition is just the sheer amount of decisions that you have to make. Should I apply for that job? What if I don't hear back? Should I switch industries? How do I explain my layoff? And it's exhausting. And your brain can only handle so much at once. When it's overloaded, it's like a web browser with 100 tabs open. So your prefrontal cortex, the brain's decision-making hub, it has limited bandwidth. So when it's flooded with worries, decisions can feel impossible. So the solution, get those thoughts out of your head. Okay, do this in whatever way works best for you. Onto paper, a notes app, a Google Doc, a journal, it doesn't matter. Just get the thoughts out and it will be so much easier for you to process. And I like to just like set a timer and let myself brain dump. And any of us can justify doing this for 5 minutes, because I know we sacrifice at least that amount of time each time we peek at Instagram or TikTok. So that's something you can do for 5 minutes. Just write down anything and everything that's bothering you and that's taking up that brain space. This is going to offload your brain's cognitive strain. Your brain's going to quiet down. And because its thoughts and ideas and worries are now written down somewhere, it no longer needs to hold on to them. It frees your brain up to solve some problems. So in the chat, we're going to just grease the wheels here. I know we're not going to do anything for 5 minutes, but just in the chat, write down just one decision that you're struggling with. Just unleash just one thing from your brain. Put it in the chat. And by writing it down, you will have cleared your brain of something and already started to take action. Yes, picking a direction, fully committing. Great, Andrew. What else? Just one decision. Yes, deciding on next industry, right? One decision that you're struggling with right now. Great, Charlotte. Yes, quit, role change, not to blame yourself. Exactly. Great. Okay. Now, step 4 is reframe your setbacks as opportunities. I want you to introduce you to one more part of the brain called the reticular activating system. That is your brain's personal algorithm. It filters information based on what you focus on. Now, my Instagram and TikTok feed is basically 3 things: quick, easy, high protein snack recipes, psychology stuff, and Chapel Roan. And a good part of me believes that everyone else around me is just thinking about those 3 things all day. I mean, that's what I see. So isn't it what everybody else sees? In the chat, do you guys have that on your feed? Chat. Oh, thanks, Jen. Yes. Stan, you don't have that? Oh man. Yeah. So I was just gonna say, have you ever hopped on someone else's Insta or TikTok feed? It is like being on another planet, okay? The reticular activating system, it brings your attention only to what you dwell on. So if you dwell on negativity or failure, your brain only notices confirming evidence. But if you focus on opportunity, it starts spotting new possibilities. Like, have you ever noticed that when you're thinking about buying a new car, you suddenly see that exact car everywhere? Yes or no in the chat? Anyone? Yes, Max, yes. Okay, yeah, so same idea. Your brain filters information based on what you pay attention to. So let's apply this to your career transition. If you focus on this is a disaster, your brain will find proof that it is. But what if you change up the algorithm to think of your career transition as a good thing? This is the what if reframing method. And here's some career transition what ifs. What if this is the best thing that ever happened to me? What if my life takes a turn for the better? What if this is my chance to try something new? So plant these questions and your brain will start searching for quick, easy, oh, I was going to say quick, easy, high protein snack recipes. So I want you to put in the chat, what is one silver lining of your career transition? Okay, type it in the chat because the way you frame your story, it shapes your experience. So instead of focusing on loss, you can focus on possibilities. Okay, put in the chat. This is important, you guys. What is one silver lining of your career transition? Yes, a new opportunity, reevaluating, being able to learn something new. Yes, opportunity to find your true purpose. Keep moving in life, how you're, learning about how your skills are transferable, being free from a toxic environment. Exactly. Okay. How y'all doing? Give me an emoji in the chat telling me giving me a little pulse on how you guys are doing. I want to take a pause for some inspiration. Thanks for the heart, Kristen. From Martha Stewart, okay? One of the most successful business people of our time who's gone through many career changes. She was flying high and then she went to prison at age 63. And then it looked like all was over for her. She is now 82 and is more relevant and successful than ever. And like she said, when you're through changing, you're through. So this is part of the growth for all of us. So for those of you who are stressing because you feel like you're too old or it's too late, and I have had clients who are fresh out of college and feel like they're too old and it's too late because they want to do something different from their major. So this feeling is sometimes there with you, but just, hey, think of Martha, all right? She is still cruising. All right, now that we understand our brain, have calmed it down a little bit, cleared out some space, I want to look at the upside. This is how your strengths shape your next career move. Strengths is my favorite topic, not just because of the impact they have on your career, but also because of how they change the way you think about yourself. We're going to do something quickly. I want you to get out that piece of paper or something to write with, and I'm going to set a timer for 30 seconds. And I want you, when I say go, you're going to spend the next 30 seconds listing your strengths. Are you ready? No questions, just go. Just write out your strengths, list your strengths, all that you can think of. Keep going. Keep listing them. Okay, stop. Tell me in the chat, how was that for you? Give me an emoji. Tell me one word. How was that experience for you in the chat? Fun. Great, Max. Reaffirming. Good, Andrew. Everybody else is being pretty quiet. Okay, slow, hard, yeah. Okay. Difficult. Yeah, I was gonna ask if it took a little bit for the strengths to get coming. I'm, and if it took a little bit of time first, then that is totally normal. What do you think it would have been easier to list out your weaknesses? Tell me in the chat, like yes or no in the chat. Would it, if I had said list your weaknesses, would it have been easier or harder? So yes, easier. Yes. Okay. Wow. Everybody, yeah. So the thing, weaknesses are a different story because of what psychologists call the negativity bias. We're more likely to focus on the negative because of, our primitive brains. So when people think about career changes, weaknesses are usually at the top of your mind. It takes a little bit of effort to get to our strengths, and we tend to focus on what's missing, what we need to fix. So, but it is much more effective to build on what's already working, your strengths, okay? First of all, what exactly is a strength? A strength is something you do consistently well that builds on your natural talent. Now, your strengths are such a natural part of you that you may not be aware of them, okay? Which is why maybe it took a little bit of time to get those strengths written down. So many of us just take our strengths for granted because they come so easily that you figure anyone can do the things that come easily to you. And strengths are much easier for other people to notice in you than for you to pinpoint in yourself. So the Gallup organization has researched and collected data on strengths for decades. And here's just a sampling of their findings. People who focus on their strengths, they're 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life, 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs. They perform better at work, experience less stress, they're more productive. And you may be wondering, Lee, why should I think about my strengths when I'm just trying to get a job? Like, why do they matter? Well, something magical happens when you know your strengths. Research shows that using your strengths lowers your stress, increases your clarity. Because think about it. If you know your strengths, you'll know how to better articulate your value to yourself on your resume, in your cover letter, in your interview. And you can go get a job without knowing your strengths, but you're here right now because you're at a transition point in your life. And you don't want any old job. You want a job that fits your life, a job that's aligned with your strengths. So don't skip the step of identifying your strengths. I can always tell when someone goes straight into a career transition without considering their strengths because they can't articulate what makes them stand out from others. And they apply for jobs simply what they did in the past. And their job search materials like their resume, LinkedIn, cover letters, they don't speak to what makes them special. They're stumped in interviews and their confidence isn't what it should be. So I'm going to take you through a process that Gallup calls name it, aim it, and claim it. I like tools that are grounded in science. So that's why I use Gallup's Clifton Strengths Assessment. The very first thing I do with every one of my clients is identify their strengths. And Clifton Strengths is the most researched and respected strengths assessment out there. So more than 34 million people from all across the globe have taken it, and it measures 34 different strengths. So get this, the chance that 2 people will have the same top 5 strengths in the same order is 1 in 33 million. So it's highly personalized, and you can buy it online from Gallup. It's like $25 around there. And there are some copycats online as well, but I would definitely recommend Gallup. So tell me in the chat if you've taken the Clifton Strengths Assessment. Just say I have. Anyone? Has anyone taken it? Okay, Anita has. Anyone besides Anita? Yes. Okay. Yes, Elise. Okay. Well, you get several reports, but this is just like a little snapshot of one of the first pages of my strengths report. And check this out. Like, I was so pleasantly surprised to see that my work is aligned with my strengths. My number 1 strength is developer, and Listen to this. You recognize and cultivate the potential in others. You spot the signs of each small improvement and derive satisfaction from evidence of progress. Like I, I mean, I did not plant that. That just happened. So it's amazing. I think this assessment is amazing. It really kind of gets to like who you are at your core. And if you don't want to take an assessment, there are questions that you can ask yourself to help define your strengths. So set aside some time and you can ask yourself these questions like, what activities make me feel energized and engaged? When have I been at my absolute best? Like, what was I doing? When do people come to me for help? What are they looking for? What compliment do I receive often? Is there a pattern? And when you're answering these questions, remember that strengths are transferable. That means you can use the same strength at your workplace that you also use just hanging out with your family and your friends. So if you're a great communicator, for example, that's going to transfer across situations, whether you're giving a presentation at work or expressing your point of view over drinks with a friend. Your strengths are transferable across jobs as well. Your strengths don't switch depending on what job you have. Okay. Another way to identify your strengths is just to talk to people who know you. Reach out to your family, your close friends, your partner, your older kids. I mean, I know some of you are thinking, Lee, that's going to be awkward. I don't want to ask someone to talk to me about how great they think I am. But trust me, you do. You do. It can be really difficult to identify your own strengths. So just say, Lee's making me do this, or I have this homework assignment from this webinar, or, if there's someone who's here at the webinar, ask them if they'll have this conversation with you. All right, so let's grease the wheels on getting you comfortable talking about your strengths. I want you to name one of your strengths in the chat. Put it in the chat. So type it in the chat and say it out loud. It's okay, we're all on mute, remember? And remember, your brain hearing that strength is going to help encode it and then recognize it in yourself each time you use it. Excellent. So we have empathy, arranger, maximizer, creative storytelling, thorough, analytical. Yes, put it in the chat. Say it out loud too. Okay, say it out loud. We're all on mute, so just go for it. All right. Now, it's not enough for you to just name your strengths. I want you to claiming your strengths is the next step. That's about owning and embracing your strengths and recognizing them as part of your identity. And this means not brushing off your strengths as, oh, it's just something, I do, but instead realizing that they are at the core of how you operate. And it means recognizing how your strengths show up in your life and relationships and work. And claiming also means not wishing that you had some different strengths or someone else's strength. Like a grass is always greener attitude is just a waste of time and energy. And it means that you're overlooking your gifts. So be kind to yourself. Give yourself the credit you deserve for the strengths that you have. Hey, and take note each time you use your strengths, practice articulating them. Like if one of your strengths is learner, you could say, I'm energized by opportunities to learn something new. And a great way to claim your strengths is through conversations with others. So seeing your strengths through someone else's eyes is really powerful. With my clients after their Clifton Strengths Assessment, they have strengths conversations with at least 5 people. And these people can be anyone as long as they know you well. And just ask them these 2 questions. When have you seen me use this strength? How do you think I could use this strength strategically in my life? And in the spirit of claiming that strength that you named in the chat, I want you to drop a sentence into the chat about how you use it or how it comes up for you. So for example, if you said, empathy is one of your strengths, you could say, people come to me when they need to talk through their problems. So put it in the chat. Okay, this is safe space for all of us. And I want you to just get used to talking about it. This is the first step is naming it. I want you to claim it, put a sentence in the chat about that strength that you named in the chat. Come on, guys. Come on, Eves, you can do it. Yes. I love that. Love that, Andrew. Excellent. Excellent, Stan. Come on, Andre Burrell. I know you're out there. Rebecca Beavers, I know you're out there. Yes, great. I love this. I ask questions that get people unstuck. Yes, help people stay organized. Thanks, Andre. Grace under pressure. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then for aim it, that is the juicy part. Aiming your strengths. Your strengths are essentially your superpowers. Like, why wouldn't you use them to get what you want? So aiming your strengths means strategically applying your natural talents to get what you want and using them in the face of challenge. So your strengths are your shortcut to clarity. So let's explore some different ways to aim your strengths. And in the interest of time, I want you to, I'm just gonna read off some things. You can aim your strengths to take a step forward. Apply strengths when you feel stuck. Okay. You can aim your strengths to evaluate different options. Okay. Consider your strengths as you're soul searching and deciding what to do. Maybe you're trying to figure out if you want to take a different career path. Okay. Or to clarify opportunities, looking for job opportunities that play for your strengths. Aim your strengths to narrow the path. Just always realizing that you can cross stuff off the list. And it's okay if you hate a particular job, you realize you hate it, that's a victory. You cross it off the list, the path gets narrowed. Use your strengths to apply strategically for jobs, okay? Look at all the job application materials through the lens of strengths. Look for every opportunity to discuss your strengths and reframe your experiences. Okay, and I'm getting a note from David that I have to hurry this up. So I'm gonna skip to the last part, the outside. How can I enjoy networking? Okay. The world around, I want you to focus on the world around you is there to help you, and it's full of opportunities. A successful career transition doesn't happen in isolation. No matter how much clarity we gain, we need people, connections, and resources to help move us forward. And I know sometimes networking just has this negative connotation. Drop an emoji in the chat telling me how does networking feel for you? I like to think of instead of networking, I just don't even use that word anymore. I call it building connections. Okay. Or building relationships. And a relationship is two ways. There's a give and a take from both sides. It grows stronger with care and communication. It's not transactional. And right now, you're sitting in a room full of potential opportunities, connections, and support. And I want to challenge you to build relationship with the EIFs who are with you right now. And if you're looking through the chat and you're realizing that you hardly know anybody, that is great news because you're opening yourself up to more possibilities when you connect with a second or third degree connection. They know a ton of people who you've never met before. Because 80% of jobs are never posted. The best roles are found through referrals and connecting. That means someone in this very webinar could introduce you to a job lead, a hiring manager, or a company insider. And most people, they network the wrong way. They just ask for favors instead of offering value. So it doesn't feel good to do this. There are so many people in this webinar. What would happen if you all connected to each other? LinkedIn is one of my absolute favorite places to do this. And it would be amazing if all of us could be in each other's LinkedIn networks. And this is not a time to be shy. Remember, we're all EIFs. We're in this together. So I've made some templates for you to use on LinkedIn so you can get connected. I'm going to just show you these really quickly before we get to some Q&A. Okay, here's a very basic connection request. Noticed you're in Lee's webinar today. I'd appreciate having you in my LinkedIn network. All the best. Okay, here's a connection request that goes a little deeper. You can learn each other's strengths. I noticed you were in Lee's webinar today. You want to do the strengths conversation exercise together? Here's another one. I noticed you were in Lee's webinar today. Let's connect. I'd love to hear about your experience at X company. I'll do a post about this webinar, and feel free to meet up there in the comments. You can check out all the people who like or comment and send them connection requests. So it's going to get the ball rolling so you can have conversations. Okay, I'm just have to end with some inspiration from LL Cool J. Dreams don't have deadlines. We're all at a transition point. What if the very best is yet to come? Okay, we've talked about a lot tonight. The inside, the neuroscience of career transitions, how to rewire your brain. The upside, how to apply your strengths and talents. And the outside, ways to grow your network with EAFs who understand what you're going through right now. So I know that David wants to ask some questions, and I'll open it up to you.
Thank you so much, Lee. We have a couple questions in the Q&A section. We have a question about, do you have a book recommendation or books that you recommend?
Oh my gosh, that's too big of a question. A book on what? Like, that's the question for me. Like,
Max, do you want to come on to the chat
career.
to kind of narrow down the question, what kind of book you're looking for? Or
What?
what?
Yeah, or I would love to think about this and get back to you on this one.
Cool. Um,
So much, you know what? So much is like in terms of just career transitions, so much is out there on LinkedIn right now, actually. Like, I feel like there are people to follow on LinkedIn. Anyway, I wish I could give you a better question. I'm going to come back to that for you because I have books on my shelf. Like, I'll do a post and I'll tag you, Max.
I actually have a couple. There are a couple folks that I really love following on LinkedIn. I don't have any book recommendations, but Austin and Madeline, whose names I just typed into the chat, they're great people to follow
Oh,
regarding
yes,
networking and
Austin
things like
Belkek.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And little advertisement for David. David's going to be doing a webinar about LinkedIn where he's going to give you a like deeper scoop than I just gave you, which will be great for all of you to see.
And we have one question from an anonymous attendee. My amygdala has a lot of fear about posting on LinkedIn. It feels arrogant. Do you have recommendations on how to combat this fear?
Totally. Well, one thing about LinkedIn, it's a place where we all come, to talk about it's a professional place, right? So but it's also a place where we learn. And people want to know what is your area of expertise. So instead of thinking of it in a way like, oh, I'm being selfish, I'm just thinking about myself, think about like what could I share with a friend that could help them? Like what area of expertise do I have that could be helpful to someone else, and just put it out there. You can even say, hey, here's a hint that, I learned that might be helpful to someone. Put it out there like that. So when you're in a giving spirit on LinkedIn, it actually feels pretty good because you're giving people valuable information. They're helping you, and at the same time, or you're helping them. And at the same time, you're building up a reputation for being an expert in certain areas.
Yeah, that really resonates, Lee. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was telling me that she posted on LinkedIn, and she never posts on LinkedIn, and she's one of the folks who works at one of the USAID contractors, and she hasn't been laid off yet, but it's kind of impending. And she posted on LinkedIn about like there's a lot of job kind of portals, but here are the four that I've found that specifically fit the needs that I have, and this might be useful to you. And she made that post, and that got, I think it was 500 likes and 150 reposts and 10,000 engagement. So like
There you
She
go.
was telling me like completely unexpected. So like kind of providing value to folks who might be in similar positions as you actually could enable you to, grow an audience of sorts.
Yeah, if you approach LinkedIn, your LinkedIn posting with a spirit of generosity, what can I give someone to help someone else? Then that will be appreciated.
I'm not seeing any other questions. One last call for questions, I guess. I
Thanks,
guess,
everybody.
can I ask you one question, Lee?
Yeah, yeah.
If you wanted if there's like one thing that you would like the audience to take away from this webinar, what do you think that might be?
I would say that this is what a normal career looks like. Like it involves transitions, it involves getting laid off, it involves getting fired or losing a job that you really love. It involves, you know, decisions that aren't your own. And so nothing has gone wrong. When I worked at the Eves and transition table at like reunion weekend one year, and everyone who approached the table like was kind of crawling up to the table with this look of, you know, shame. And I just wanted to tell each person like now that, I graduated in 93, every single person I know, has been through some kind of career transition. Maybe that wasn't their choice. And it's normal. There's nothing, this is how it is. This is our life. And this is what a career looks like.
Yeah, cool. And then we have one question from Nick. How can we all connect afterwards for those of us who want to? I don't think we're able to, for legal and compliance reasons, I don't think we're able to send out contact information after this, but if you would like to stay connected, you should definitely share your LinkedIn to connect with folks, and I'm happy to connect with folks as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll do a post on this, and then David, I know you will too. And just everybody just find the post, or and you can comment on it or just click on it, or if you don't want to click on it, you can just see who else was there and connect with them privately. But it's a great way to just get connected with all these people in this webinar who understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
everybody in the chat so happy to connect too. Like definitely, I mean, write down names and go back on LinkedIn and hook up with these people.
So, um, I think any final questions from the chat? I'm not seeing any. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. Lee, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. We have another webinar coming up next week, same time. I don't know if it's the same place, but you'll get the link. So we will see you there, and we're also going to be sharing out the recording and the slides from this. So thank you all for being here. And if you want to connect with me, send me your like networking questions, and I'll address them when I do a webinar sometime down the road.
Thanks everybody
Thank you,
for
Leah. Thank you, crew.